let's get into this housing market recession because there's a lot of conversations about interest rates, inflation, recession, availability, housing costs, all of the things that you guys are very much interested in as far as whether or not you're going to be able to afford a home and become a home buyer. Reading the super chat shortly. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. I might head to Chicago today. Either way, this week I am going to be doing a live stream on the Patreon. So again, make sure you subscribe, turn on your notifications, and let's get it rocking. Let's talk about the housing market really quickly before we end the show.
Property prices are rising across the U.S., and that is, in fact, in part because of these higher interest rates.
Correct. Now, this surge is causing many Americans to wonder, are we barreling toward a housing market crash? Well, a recent report from S&P CoreLogic shows home prices rose annually by 1% in July. This marks the 6th consecutive month of increases.
Now, what I keep hearing from a lot of different YouTubers, and I haven't done the research because the only thing I care about is what's going on in my market in particular. And if it does not affect the market that I'm investing in, then I'm not really necessarily caring about it. But everything I see across the internet, around YouTube specifically, which is one of the reasons why I just take into consideration what they're saying. I look and see what the data is saying. I look at the cover photo. I look at the name of the live stream or the name of the video that they dropping, and they say, oh my God, housing is crashing nationwide, and they're dropping prices by 33% for every single home that's sold. Well, when I look at what Money Watch and CBS and Yahoo News and all of this, and I start to do my own research, year over year, home prices are actually increasing. So that means that inflation is still high. The Fed is still leveraging inflation in order to run up the numbers, in order to tamp down inflation, because at one point it was at like 9%, 10%, which is very, very bad. And it's saying that home prices are up 1% year over year. So that means that there are still buyers in the market. As soon as a property hits the market, it is selling in most industries, especially in affordable places. People still need places to live, even though they're getting evicted. And housing market is remaining steady. And so when they're telling you that a 2008 style crash is coming, I don't necessarily see it that way, but we're going to mine this out.
Additionally, the National Association of Realtors reports median home prices are up nearly 4% year over year as of August.
So the median home prices is up 4%. Also, interesting.
Was the highest median price ever recorded for the month.
So the highest median price ever recorded for the month. The highest median price that has ever been recorded. Listen, I'm just reading based off of what the news is telling me, and then I'm going to mine it out accordingly and give you what my opinion is as to what most people should do if they decide that they want to buy a house. Let's continue.
Mark Hamrick joins us now. He's a senior economic analyst for Bankrate. Mark, always good to talk to you. So
shout out to
interest
Mark.
rates are at the highest that they've been in more than 2 decades. Experts say higher interest rates tend to usually bring home prices down.
Right.
But in this case, we are seeing a spike. That may seem counterintuitive.
Yeah,
so,
it's like, help us understand. I've been asking this question to myself. It's really starting to bother me.
And demand.
I know, but I was never good at that.
Nothing like a bunch of women that just goes off script and they start talking to each other about how delusional they are about what's going on in the market. But they ask this man a question. He's sitting there looking like a deer in headlights because he's trying to answer the question. He probably got his remarks already prepared in order to have this conversation. And these chicks is going off script. Listen to these chicks. Hey, Mark, we want to get your insight on what's going on. But we got you up here as our expert. What is going on, Mark? Because I was thinking, yeah, girl, okay.
More than 2 decades. Experts say higher interest rates tend to usually bring home prices down.
Right.
But in this case, we are seeing a spike. That may seem counterintuitive.
Yeah,
so,
it's like, help us understand. I've been asking this question to myself. It's really starting to bother me.
And demand.
I know, but I was never good at that.
Get into it for us.
Sure. I don't mean to interrupt, but no, this is a confounding situation to many people here, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you both, Jerika and Lana. I think the main thing that's lending support to home prices here is the lack of supply of available homes for sale. And this is directly attributable to the current mortgage rate situation. You know, we've seen this spike in mortgage rates recently from the high 2% range a couple of years ago, low 3% range. The bank rate average average for the 30-year fixed rate mortgage most recently is 7.80%. And as you said,
7.8% for a 30-year. I think it's 6.7% for a 15. 7.8%. And people are going to automatically opt for the 30-year when they get a mortgage. They're going to opt for the 30-year when they get the mortgage because they want to stretch the payments out longer. It's going to kill them. It is going to be worse for them. They're going to pay more interest over a longer period of time. They're going to spend more on that house. The investment in that property, they're largely going to resign to the fact that the property probably appreciated over the period that they owned it, but it doesn't necessarily account for the true cost of home ownership. 7.8%. I don't think any of y'all have seen this in y'all lifetime. I don't think that any of y'all have seen it. Somebody told me that they got 40-year mortgages now. I'm going to have to find out.
This is the highest since the year 2000. So this is having what's being
40-year mortgage, that's your whole lifetime.
Described as a so-called lock-in effect. And I guess I could say, in a sense, I'm part of the problem because the home that I'm sitting in right now is one that we purchased with a low mortgage rate. And like millions of other homeowners across the country, we are loath to move from this location, knowing that if we move elsewhere, we'll have to pay a lot for a home and to finance that, presumably, if we were to use a home loan at a high rate of interest. And so that's keeping homes off the market.
So it really feels like if you got in on that 2 and 3%,
you don't want to move.
You shouldn't move right now.
So basically what he's breaking down to you guys is that the reason why the housing market is operating the way that it is, and that most people that want to move or can move or even have the option to move, is because they don't want to sell because they know that they'd have to finance and then get another mortgage at 7.8% if they was to go over there and get a 30-year mortgage. So you stuck. You're literally a prisoner in your own home and you can't afford to move. Meanwhile, your property taxes is going to go up. You still got to make that payment. If you over there and you working at Taquito Taco Bell like Fast Freddy over there on the last segment that's striking for the UAW, you still got to get your mortgage popping. There is no moratorium, no rental assistance, no none of that. Listen. No COVID, no nothing. You are basically a prisoner in your own home because you cannot afford to move, considering that if you sell your home, you still have to finance a new home at a 7.8 interest rate when you probably got it at 2.8% a few years ago. You are trapped in your own home, which keeps the market intact. Because as long as the Fed continues to raise rates, it is keeping you in the space that you don't even necessarily want to be in.
It just doesn't. Yeah. I mean, I shouldn't say you shouldn't, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult because you're going to take, if you are taking out a 15 or 30-year mortgage, you're going to pay more than what you did 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, the monthly payment difference compared to that low mortgage rate period not that long ago could be something on the order of 30 to 50%. And so that is quite difficult to swallow. We have a saying at Bankrate, people don't get married because wedding dresses go on sale. There are going to be some people who need to get moving anyway for whatever reason. And so this is obviously causing some constraints. And the affordability issue is really among the worst we've seen in many decades.
So, Mark, bottom line it for us. With supply being so limited, does it appear that the housing market will continue to have these inflated prices, or do you think that a crash or even a leveling off is coming anytime soon?
Well, first of all, crash is a rather high or low standard, depending on how you look at it, meaning that that's a rather severe event, and that's the likes of which was essentially unprecedented during the great financial crisis. So I don't think anybody is really looking for anything like that. Could you see further cooling in some of the previously red-hot markets across the country? Absolutely. And very often those increases in home prices, when they are so far outside the pale of the increases, for example, in wages and wealth, that is the definition of unsustainable. I think.
So basically he's saying that inflation in your particular market or the cooling of the home prices based off of wherever it is that you live is going to affect you differently depending on where you are in the country. So if you live in a market, I'm assuming he didn't name any specific markets, but let's just guess, right, for the sake of conversation. Let's say that you live in a market like California or in specific parts of California, right? And prices are still going up in California, even though the crime is just running rampant. And you're not in San Diego, you over there in San Francisco, and you got people that's walking down the street in this homeless tents, and they, taking poops on the grass and on the lawn, and UAW members is striking and all of this other type of stuff, right? Well, in that instance and in that particular situationship, right, that market may be cooling a little bit based off of the fact that they can't find any suitable buyers that want to live in that environment and continue to subject themselves to the policies that's happening over there. So it could possibly cool over there. Whereas there may be people over in California that sell their homes and then, for example, move into San Antonio, Austin, Houston, Dallas, and they say, wow, this is a lot more affordable. And so we're going to push up the market in Texas because we made a lot of money based off of the appreciation of our homes over in California. And there may be some institutional investors over there, but then over there in Texas is going up even higher because the institutional investors are also competing against the regular everyday buyers and the cash buyers that's coming in overseas that are then starting to park some money over here in the United States of America. And so that pushes up the home prices over in Texas, for example. And then that throws off the market. And then you combine it with the fact that a lot of these people are house poor, but they can't afford to move. A lot of y'all are stuck with women that you didn't even want to be with. And why are you stuck with women that you didn't want to be with? Well, because you became interdependent on each other in order to survive. And so now it's not just about staying together for the kids. It's staying together because y'all can't afford to do anything different unless you're just a wild one and you don't care about the business prospects of what's going on in your relationship and you don't necessarily want to sell the home. But a lot of y'all going to have to downsize because winter is coming. Y'all getting into arguments. He losing his job because he's striking with the UAW. You feeling some type of way about it. You said I can do good by myself. And so as a result, we have more inflation happening within the real estate market because somebody like me then comes and take advantage of you guys because I understand that she's a modern woman and he's a man that's laid off from the UAW and he supports Sean Fain. And so I'm going to take advantage of it and hopefully get that house at a discount or that land and then build something on top of it that allows for me to then continue to increase my portfolio. So my point is this, is that if you're getting into real estate, it's always going to be tumultuous. I connected it to men too, Carrie. If you're getting into real estate, it is going to be a tumultuous ride going forward. There's going to be a disproportionate amount of people that are still trying to buy homes because they still believe in the American dream. There's also going to be a disproportionate amount of people that want to get out of their homes, but they can't necessarily get out of that home because then they'd be house poor because they can't afford to finance another home at the rates by which it's going to continue to go up. I think that rates are going to continue to go up. I think that you're going to see some disruption in the market going forward, especially in 2024. I believe that you need to come up with an alternative plan as to how it is that you can be successful in the real estate industry. Buying and flipping is not necessarily the move, in my opinion. If you make a lot of money, then I think that there's some spaces for you to park some money inside of real estate. If you don't make a lot of money, then I think that you need to look at real estate from a business perspective and not just from a home ownership perspective because the market is now forcing you to do so. If you are not a part of the Patreon, the link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. I will be updating the Patreon with the upcoming live stream, and I need to figure out whether or not I'm going to be in Chicago because I need to see what's happening in Chicago. But remember this, home ownership is not just based off of what your payment is. The true cost of home ownership is based off of what? How much it's costing you to actually stand at home. Property taxes, PMI if you only put 3.5% down instead of 20%, homeowners insurance, property taxes, maintenance, the interest rates that you're going to pay over a period of time, right? Energy bills, repairs as far as all when you got to put a roof on it or when a furnace goes out or, you know what I'm saying, when your basement flood and all of this other type of stuff. The true cost of home ownership, you need to be taking it into consideration as far as looking at everything from a business perspective. AVG man says something. He said, what about trying to be a real estate agent? Well, you got to compete against other real estate agents, but let me throw that in also as a part of the cost of home ownership. If you own a home and then you sell a home, you're still going to have to pay that 6%, 3% to the seller, 3% over to the buyer's agent. And then you got to pay 1% over into the title company, right? So now if you selling a $400,000 home, then you're going to be paying $30,000 in real estate fees. And then that ain't even including the taxes if you're buying and flipping at the same time. So it's so many different things that factors into the true cost of home ownership and then what method or what way you want to get into real estate. Some people want to be flippers, but they don't really understand the costs that come along with it. You also got to pay the interest rates on hard money loans, and then you're trying to hurry up and get this thing taken care of while working with different contractors and trying to pull permits and all of this stuff, right? Your market is largely going to depend on how fast that you can move as far as flipping. And then you also got to take into consideration location, right? Location, location, location. Stop speculating and trying to buy and flip something that's cheap and it's in a depressed area and you think you're going to make some money from it and then you get stuck with it. You can't get rid of it. And then also on top of that, you got Airbnb disrupting Dallas and New York and everything, right? So I just want y'all to take this into consideration. Every situation is unique, and so you have to vet it out accordingly. We need to see what your goals are. It may not be best for you to actually buy a home. You may need to stay in your mama's basement for a little bit longer, right? David Simpson Jr. says buying land makes more sense now. Well, it depends on what you're going to do with it. Are you holding on to the land just to be a speculator? Are you holding on to the land in order to build a house? What's the true cost of building a house? That's what I'm breaking down inside of my Patreon right now. So listen, y'all, I love you guys. I appreciate you. Hopefully you find value and entertainment in everything that we do every day. UAW members, go and get them jobs. Mickey D's, Taco Bell, Burger King, Chipotle. And I want to see a smile on your face when I pull up to you inside of the line over there at, what's the chicken place that be closed on Sunday? What's the chicken place? Somebody tell me the chicken place that be closed on Sunday. What's the name of it? I want to see a smile on your face. What's the name of the chicken place? Chick-fil-A. When I pull up to the line at Chick-fil-A, I don't want to see no sad faces. You got your support animal. Make sure that he gets you in a good mood before you get to work because I want my fries hot. I want my chicken crispy, and I want my bacon on top of whatever burger that you make for me, all right?